Assalamu alaikum everybody. I hope everyone is well. Okay, so I will just be uploading the mock. Just hang on, I'm just uploading the mock. Okay guys, I have uploaded the mock. You can click on the drive link and you can access the mock. And walaikum assalam. Don't worry, you guys will do well. Don't worry. Walaikum assalam, Rutba, Rayan, walaikum assalam, Riha, walaikum assalam. Okay guys, you guys can start the mock. We will exactly meet in the next 1 hour and then we'll discuss the mock. Okay, guys, let's start the discussion. Okay, let's get back now. Question number 1 देख लेते हैं. Okay, is everyone back? Question number 1, let's discuss question 1 now. Okay, question number 1. What would be the answer to question number 1? Okay, everybody, let's get back. Let's discuss the paper. Question number 1. G. What is the answer, guys, to question number 1? Question number 1 says a biotech startup develops a revolutionary gene editing tool using advanced laboratory equipment, and the lead scientist is working unpaid. Okay, fine. For the first year, while the firm operates from a government-granted research facility, which of the following best describes the inputs described in terms of economic factors of production? So the correct answer for question number 1 should be B for boy, because the laboratory equipment and facilities are both capital. Definitely the facility is a capital as well, but the scientist unpaid work would not count as factor of production, right? So because the reason it is not counted as factor of production is because unpaid labor is not counted in the factor income payments, right? Economics would describe labor as the work that is being done for income. So unpaid efforts are not considered as part of labor input, because that factor income wouldn't be accounted for in your GDP calculation in national income accounting under GDP under expenditure method. So that is why it will not be counted as a factor of production, because whatever incomes are earned against those factors of production, the factor incomes are counted as part of GDP. So if something is not part of GDP, it's not a factor of production, because so for something to be a factor of production, that income from the factor of production has to be part of GDP as well. So that is why B is the correct answer. Ali, a free graphic designer, charges $40 per hour and 5 hours on Sunday. He is considering attending a 3-hour unpaid workshop that improves his skills. Alternatively, he could put those hours to client work or relax, and if Ali chooses a workshop. So what is the opportunity cost? The correct answer would be A for apple, and this is a pretty simple question, so I don't think a lot of explanation is needed, but he's basically going to forgo one, because obviously the decision is that with the 3-hour workshop that he's taking, he's actually foregoing $40 per hour, so he's foregoing $120. Pretty simple. So that is the opportunity cost, which is the next value of the next best alternative foregone. So $120 of client income is the measurable loss, and that is the opportunity cost. So 2 is A. Question number 3, the correct answer should be so it says the product is unitary elastic, so the total expenditure has to be the same. So 500 times 20 is $10,000 is the total revenue or the expenditure, and this has to be equal to whatever the new sales are, price times quantity, price times 800. So the value of P would be 12.5. The correct answer is B for boy. So question number 3, the correct answer is boy as well. Okay. Now moving forward, question number 4 says the following supply and demand diagram shows the impact of government tax on chocolate bars. The amount of tax revenue raised each week is. Now the amount of tax revenue that you need to find out is, and they're saying obviously it's per unit. So the distance between the two supply curves, whether you take it from here or you take it from here, is going to be the same. So let's take it from here. 1.35 minus 1.15 would give you how much? Would the correct answer would be 1.35 minus 1.15 if you guys do it. So the correct answer would be 0.6, and even if you deduct 1.4 from 1.2, I think the answer would be 0.6. It's a parallel shift, right? So the vertical distance has to be the same from whichever quantity you take out that distance. Question number 5, due to excellent growing conditions, wheat harvest. This is pretty simple. So if we have a good harvest, so the equilibrium price will fall and the equilibrium output will rise. Question number 5B, boy, is the correct answer. What is an example? Which of the followings are example of public goods? So as far as public goods are concerned, we know that they are non-revelers and they're non-excludable. And street lighting is a very classic example of public goods. And as far as street cleaning is concerned, it is also a public good, because if you're, you can't really, because everyone would benefit from it if the streets are being cleaned, right? And you can't if streets are being cleaned, then that street is, no one owns that street, right? No house particularly owns that street. So it's also an example of a public good. So D is the correct answer, and everyone would benefit from that street cleaning. So 6 part D is the correct answer. Okay. Question number 7 says a country is making full use of its resources. It decides to produce less consumer goods. The correct answer should be 7D. D for David, D to A. This is again very correct, because less consumer goods would be made and more capital goods would be made. So we move from D to A. Right? Less consumer, more capital. Question number 8 says the consumption of a good generates external benefits. Its market equilibrium is E, which diagram shows the equilibrium to reflect the correct value of the good. So the answer to question number 8 should be what? The correct answer to question number 8 should be A for Apple, or A for Alpha, or A for Adil, because the simple reason being that if you want to increase the demand, it says which reflects the correct value of the good being showed, right? So if this is the demand based on imperfect information, while this D1 is the demand based on perfect information. So actually this is representing the correct value, because the price of merit goods should be much higher, because this should be valued more than what they are in the market, right? Because the demand would reflect that value, and if the demand goes up, the value goes up and people would be willing to pay more. So A is the correct answer for this. Question number 9 says which of the following is a normative statement? This is a very repeated question. Unemployment is more harmful than inflation. Easy peasy. Unemployment is more harmful than inflation. So yes, 9, David, is the correct answer. Do remember that words that contain should, better, more harmful are normative as their value judgments. So unemployment is more harmful than inflation is a subjective statement. It depends upon what economy or society values more. Society considers unemployment as a bigger problem, then probably unemployment is more harmful. But if inflation is considered as a bigger problem, inflation is more harmful. So it's subjective. Question number 10 is, I think we have done this before as well, but in year 1, the government purchased an amount necessary to ensure that the price was OP. So in year 1, definitely, you have a surplus, right? So definitely you're going to purchase this quantity in year 1. You're going to purchase WY to ensure that the price is OP. Otherwise, there would be a downward pressure on prices if you don't purchase it. So the government has to make sure that this particular price level is maintained. And the same if the surplus, the same goes that, in year 2, what happens is that this is representing that surplus, right, in year 2. So the government would again enter as a buyer in the market and would end up buying quantity YZ, and the demand curve would shift to D2. So all this quantity would be bought by the government, as YZ is representing the amount that is bought by the government. Okay. So question number 10 should be David, YZ. Question number 11, which change will lower the price elasticity of supply of a product? So it becomes easier. So the production process becomes less complex. If the production becomes less, sorry. My bad. B, output of the product nears full capacity. So 11 should be boy, output of the product nears full capacity, because if the firm is near full capacity, it cannot increase the output very easily in response to price increases because of labor shortages and maybe labor shortages, input shortages, and these are the bottlenecks it will face. So supply will not be that responsive to a rise in demand and price. So 11 is boy. Question number 12 says a well-known clothing retailer. Question number 12, Faizan says, why not D for question 8? Why not D for अच्छा देखो बात सारी ये है. I mean, the reason why it's not D is because you're subsidizing the merit goods, right? You're subsidizing the merit goods, but the moment why are you subsidizing merit goods? You're wasting money. That's first of all a very short-term measure, and the moment you take away the subsidy, supply would fall back to S and the consumption falls back to E. So देखें यहाँ पे you need to understand that although consumption of merit goods is going up, but this consumption is just artificially increased to the socio-optimum level, and it's not really reflecting the true value of how people value merit goods. The only reason, merit goods would be truly valued if only the demand for merit goods increases due to more advertising and correcting that information failure through creating more awareness programs. That is, let's say if maybe everyone should eat healthy food, then the demand for healthy food should go up, and that reflects the real value of how people reflect, of how people think about merit goods in their heads. And so what we see is that, not only is the quantity of merit goods going up, but, the price reflects the value, right? You remember this particular line? I remember teaching you guys this particular line in the price mechanism, that price reflects relative scarcity and the value of the good. And if you just cut out the scarcity part, if you truly understand that price actually reflects the value of the good. So the fact that but the price goes up because of a rise in demand, if the price goes up due to a fall in supply, and I want you to hear this, if the price goes up due to a fall in supply, that's a bit different. But if the price is going up due to a rise in demand, then that is reflecting the true value of the good, because now people value this good by much more. That is why A is the correct answer rather than D being the correct answer. Okay? Which diagram, if you read the question, it says which diagram shows a change in equilibrium that is necessary to reflect the correct value to society. Got it? Question number 12 says a well-known clothes retailer decides to have a summer sale in its shop. As a result, the number of people who use the shop increases. So which area measures the consumer surplus for customers who have bought clothes anyway and the surplus for the new consumers? G. So the correct answer for this question should be what? It should be, so which area measures the change in consumer surplus for the customers who would have bought the clothes anyways and the surplus for the new consumers. And I remember doing this, doing these sort of diagrams with my students in classes. In the videos, these diagrams were covered, and it's, you guys, I'm sure those who have studied from me are easily able to figure this out. So what this means is basically that they're saying that which area measures change in consumer surplus for the. So overall, you see, K plus L, all of this area represents a rise in consumer surplus, right? But you have to understand that, यहाँ पे demand curve they're talking about, the x-axis is measuring the customer purchases, right? So what this ideally is reflecting here is that, these dudes in this area, in this particular area, have had a higher willingness to pay, and these dudes in this area of the demand curve since demand curve reflects reflects the willingness to pay, these were already willing to pay a higher price. If the price goes down, then this area reflects the increase in consumer surplus for the people who were willing to pay, who would have bought the good either ways, right? So even if the price had not fallen, they would have still bought the good, and they were obviously buying this good, and they were still earning a consumer surplus on it by the area J. So for those dudes, the consumer surplus goes up from J to, it goes up to K. So it's J plus K for those dudes, right? For the old people. But as far as the increase is concerned, it's only area K for the old people, while area L is for the new people, right? It's for the new people, because if you extend this line, for all these new dudes who are in this part of the demand curve, I mean, the price was initially much more than what they were willing to pay. So definitely they wouldn't have bought this product. But since the price goes down now, they can end up consuming all of this, right? So this area represents the increase in consumer surplus for all those people who were not willing to buy before, but now since the price went down, it became economically, rationally possible for them to actually end up purchasing all this. So area L is the consumer surplus for the new consumer. So it's K for existing, L for new consumer. So it's C for Charlie. What is the most likely purpose of government making transfer payments? Question number 13. Most likely purpose of government making transfer payments is to encourage a change in income distribution. This is pretty simple, because the government wants, and that is exactly one of the reasons why the government ends up giving transfer payments, because it wants to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. They want to reduce income inequality by transferring that income from taxpayers, especially those taxpayers who are high income earners. They take away money from them and they redistribute it to the poor. So it's going to bridge that gap, especially to those with lower or no income. So again, that's the reason. Question number 14 says, in supermarkets, reduce the price they were willing to pay for farmers to below what was the market equilibrium. So if this is the market equilibrium and the supermarkets are charging a lower price, it's basically causing a shortage, and the shortage is 17 minus 4, that is 13,000 liters, I think, is a shortage. While if the government intervenes and it imposes an effective minimum price which is above the equilibrium price, then it would result into a surplus, and the surplus would be simply 13 minus 6. 13 minus 6 would be 5. So 5k surplus after the supermarket action. 13 minus 6 is 7. 7 hota hai na? 7. So after the supermarket action, a surplus of 7,000 and a shortage of 13,000. So David is the correct answer for question number 14. 14 is David. Everyone got it right? You guys marked it A? No. It's A was 13. Okay. Moving forward, question number 15 says the initial market for the product is represented. The initial market for a product is represented by the demand and supply. A subsidy is then introduced, represented by the shift from S1 to S2. What is the incidence of the subsidy for the consumer and the producer? Yes, what is the answer for question number 15? What did you guys write for question 15, guys? 15. What did you guys end up writing for 15? 15, you guys did David. Everyone? Is it David or is it boy? Ariha says David, Fizan says boy, Hunzila says A for alpha. The correct answer for this question is boy. If you see that this is the subsidy, the vertical distance between the two supply curve reflects the subsidy. And if you guys remember that the subsidy diagram I had taught in my classes, that if this is the subsidy, then this distance is representing the subsidy gain to the consumers, while all of this distance is the subsidy gain to the producers. So this is for the sorry, I'm so sorry. This is for the consumers, this is for the producers, right? But this is the overall subsidy gain. Now let's look at what they're saying is how much of the subsidy gain per unit, in terms of per unit, right? And this makes perfect sense. I'll tell you how. So this is the subsidy per unit. This whole TQ is the subsidy per unit, right? For all these extra units, we are actually giving a subsidy. I mean, for all the units, not just the extra units, but for all the units that are being made, a subsidy is now given. So what we are saying is that not for just the extra units, for all the units of B, the subsidy is given. So what we're saying is that a subsidy per unit is TQ. And if you look at this unit B, the cost of producing unit B is reflected by this point, but after the subsidy, the cost falls to this point. So this vertical distance is the subsidy, because of that the fall in cost is occurring because of that subsidy. And previously what was happening was that, see, all these extra units that the consumer is now consuming, right? All these extra units, had the consumer consumed, the consumer would have consumed them at a much higher price of P, right? So all these units would have been consumed at a much higher price of P, which was the equilibrium price. But now all these units are going to be consumed at a much lower price, right? So what we're saying is that if this is so, that if all these units that were being produced and consumed, that were being consumed at a higher price, but now they're consumed at a lower price, so it follows that RQ is the consumer benefit of the subsidy, because it reflects the decline in the price from the previous equilibrium to the new equilibrium. It reflects that the price is going down by that amount, so it's the subsidy benefit transferred to the consumer. And that is why we say that all of this area is reflecting the subsidy benefit to the consumer, because it shows that for all the units OB, we're actually paying a much lower price. First we were paying this much, but now we're paying this much. So that is the total subsidy gain to the consumer. And if this is a subsidy that the producer gets, then, and if this is how much is transferred to the consumer as a gain, then the remaining is what the producer gain is, right? So this distance is reflecting the subsidy that is gained by the producer. TR is what the subsidy is gained by the producer, this distance. And this is all I remember covering in my classes. So question 16, the price and weights of the three categories are shown below. Relative price, budget allocated is simply your weights. If the inflation rate of the country was 10%, now here obviously we are assuming that the inflation rate is over the base year, because they haven't really given the inflation rate in year one, so this is just the current year over the base year. So the weighted price index would be 120 times 0.5, which is 60, and this should be 110 times 0.3, that is 33. And let's say this is X, so this should be, let's say this is the weighted, the index for transportation is X, so this should be 0.2X. And so basically, if we add all of this up, these are weighted price indexes, right? And if we add all these value up, right? If we add all these value up, then the index should be actually the index of these values should be equal to 110. The reason being is that it says that the inflation rate in the country was 10%, which means that the current year index should be 110 over the base year then. And this should be equal to the sum of these weighted price indexes. So it's 60 plus 33 plus 0.2x equals to 110, I guess, right? 110. So what is the value of x? The value of x should be 85. And if the value of x is 85, then it simply means that the index of transportation has fallen from the base year. The index of transportation has to be 100. Zahir si baat hai, I mean, there's no inflation in the base year, but in the current year, the index of transportation has fallen by 85%, 285, which is representing a fall by 15%. Got it? Question number 16 is David. 17 says the table shows the figures for 17 says the table shows the figures for consumption, capital formation, and depreciation in 4 economies, all measured in US dollar. Assuming that the state of technology remains unchanged, which economy is most likely to experience economic growth? So the correct answer for question number 18 has to be A for alpha. Okay, pretty simple, because what you need to do is that for such a question you just need to basically look at, see, capital formation, this is gross investment. So gross investment is given. Okay, this is gross investment, this is depreciation. You just need to calculate the net investment, and the net investment is basically gross investment minus your depreciation. And if the net, and we know economic theory tells us, just a second, yeah, so just a second. Sorry guys, I just need to charge. Okay, so are we back? So economic theory basically tells us, economic theory teaches us that your net investment should be greater than zero. It has to be positive, right? That's what economic theory teaches us. So you need to understand that if we have a positive net investment, which means that if the net investment is greater than zero, that is, it is positive, then the capital stock is going up. And if the capital stock is going up, we have economic growth, right? We have economic growth. So it's only I mean, if you look at economy A, only economy A has a positive net investment, which means that it's plus 10, which means that economic growth, which means that capital stock is rising, and definitely growth is much likely to occur over here, right? So that is why A is the correct answer, right? So depreciation is basically your capital consumption. If the question had basically given you, instead of depreciation, they had given you capital consumption, then again you would have calculated net investment. So net investment is simply gross investment, which is capital formation, gross capital formation minus your depreciation. So it's simply gross investment minus capital consumption, that is depreciation. So you get net investment. And for economic growth to happen, for your productive capacity to rise, for your productive potential to rise, the gross investment has to be more than replacement investment or capital consumption or depreciation. A is the correct answer. Question number 18. Yes guys, what is the answer to question number 18? What is 18? What is 18? If you look at question number 18, you have an unemployment rate, and then they're saying that 2008 to 2010 there was a recession. We know the global financial crisis, that's what it is. And we have 3 different countries, country X, Y, and Z. And obviously, the unemployment rate in country X is rising. If you look at from 2010 or 28 onwards, the unemployment rate is slightly rising, but it's slightly stable. It rises and then it gets sort of stable, but then in country Z as well, it's sort of going up. It's only country Y where the unemployment rate is actually falling. And if the unemployment rate is falling, it's simply representing a steady decline in that range. So it's showing that country Y was in a recession. It was actually experiencing a declining unemployment rate. So maybe that country either sort of avoided the recession, or it just absorbed the impacts of recession much better than others, something like that. But so the conclusion is that in terms of unemployment, the country least harmed by the recession. Again, look at this. It's the statement. So it should be C. In terms of unemployment, the country that has been least harmed by the recession was country Y. Because if you look at in relative terms, the unemployment rates are going up for country Y and Z, while for country X and Z, while for country Y it's going down. So that is why what makes C as the correct answer. Got it? Question number 19. Are we good? Question number 19 जो है, it's simply basic income. What is basic income? Basic income bonus payment is a basic income, and you get, basic income में you add, which is your personal income, you add bonus into it, some bonus payments and all of that. So you'll get gross income, and from gross income you'll deduct your income taxes, which are your direct taxes. You'll end up with disposable income. So question number 19, answer should be A for apple. Question number 20, in a report suggested automated robots could threaten 33% of existing jobs compared with 38%. Manufacturing retail jobs face the greatest threat. What type of unemployment is structural unemployment? Pretty simple. Question number 20 is structural unemployment. What unemployment is illustrated? The answer should be structural unemployment, because of the change in the structure of the industry, because of change in the demand for the industries, and this would create a mismatch between the skills in the market versus what the skills required are. Question number 21, the diagram. Yes, 21. What is the answer to 21? Guys, 21. The diagram shows the number of US dollars and euros which exchange for a pound. So the exchange rate is given per pound for dollar, per pound for euros. What happened to exchange rate of dollar against the pound, right? So dollar against the pound. So, okay. So basically, let's take a value 1.6 ले लेते हैं. Let's first look at a pound. How much was a pound equals to dollar, right? Let's take the pound and dollar exchange rate. So 1 pound was equal to $1.6 somewhere in 2002. And then in 2004, let's say it was 1.8. So the pound was against the dollar was equal to $1.8. So against the dollar, the pound appreciated against the dollar, which means that the dollar depreciated against the pound. So against the pound, the dollar depreciated. So if you look at this, the question says dollar exchange rate against the pound. So the dollar exchange rate against the pound simply tells us that dollar was depreciating. So the answer has to be either A, or it has to be the answer has to be either C for Charlie, or it has to be D for David. The answer has to be C for Charlie or D for David. Now they're saying dollar exchange rate against euro. Dollar exchange rate against the euro. Dollar exchange rate against the euro, right? Now here the thing is that they have given you the exchange rate of pound against the euro against the pound. The exchange rate given over here is talking about the how much was euro valued per pound. So let's say that 1 pound was actually equal to how many euros? 1 pound was equal to, let's say initially was around 1.65 euros. Even if I take 1.6, still it will happen. It's okay. More values, so we don't need the exact value, we just need to look at the nature of the change, right? The direction of the change. So let's say it was around 1.65, 1.62, whatever you want to take, still the answer would be the same. Even if you take 1.6 here, it would be fine. So a pound was equal to 1.65 euros, right? A pound was equal to 1.65 euros, and somewhere in 2004 it depreciated. So a pound against the euro depreciated. See, a pound against the dollar depreciated, but a pound against the euro depreciated to somewhere around 1.45. Let's take 1.45. So it got to 1.45 euros, right? Now I want you to pay very close attention here. So now they're asking the dollar exchange rate against the pound. The dollar exchange rate against the pound, which means that they want to know that what is a dollar worth against the, sorry, they're asking the dollar exchange rate against the euro. What is the dollar exchange rate against the euro, right? इसको करने का the easiest way is that if a pound is 1.65 euros, so if a pound is, okay, so if a pound was $1.6 and a pound is 1.65 euros, then instead of £1 here, I can also write $1.65 here. If A equals to B and B equals to C, then A equals to C as well. वही वाले concept है math का, right? So if a pound equals to $1.6 and a pound equals 1.65 euros, then $1.6 also equals to 1.65 euros, right? Similarly, if, and then in 2004, if a pound was $1.8, then $1.8 equals to 1.45 euros. Now the exchange rate they're asking is the dollar exchange rate against the euro. So you need to find out the value of $1. So let's convert the value. Let's find out the value of $1, and the value of $1 should be, let's take out the value of $1. Let's, so this should be $1 should equal what? This should be 1.65 times 1.65 divided by 1.6, and that is 1.03. ठीक है, मैंने क्या किया, what I did was 1.65 over 1.6. So $1 was equal to 1.03 euros, 1.03 euros, and a dollar in 2004 was equal to 1.45 divided by 1.8, and it was how much? It was 0. So dollar exchange rate against the euro. I think I've made some calculation mistake here. मैंने कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं कर दिया? I think I have made some mistake here. It should appreciate होना चाहिए, depreciate नहीं होना चाहिए ये. Let me sort of check what have I done. If a pound, मैंने क्या लिखा हुआ है? A pound, okay. So a pound equals 1.65 euros and a pound equals 1.65 and 1.4. So 1.6 and 1.8. So yeah, so which means कि इसका आंसर जो है, मैंने कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं की हुई है? फैज़ान क्या कह रहे हो? In 2002 it was £1 to 1.45. किस में? I don't know if I think I'm doing some calculation error here. किस में? So इसका जो करेक्ट आंसर होगा वो डी ही होगा. आई डोंट नो, मेरे पास मार्किंग स्कीम में सी लिखा हुआ है, बट आई थिंक आई हैव डन मुझे लग रहा है मैंने कैलकुलेशन एरर की, बट आई डोंट थिंक सो मैंने की. आई थिंक डी शुड बी द राइट आंसर. In 2002 you have written £1 is $1.6. £1 is 1.65. किस में कह रहे हो? Let me do this all over again. Just let me do this all over again. I just need to be very sure of what I'm doing. I think I just messed up somewhere. But दोबारा देख लेते हैं. Where were we? We were, a pound is equal to we said in 2000 and, 2002 it's 1 point. एक दफ़ा मैं कैलकुलेशन एरर कर लूँ, अपनी तसल्ली कर लूँ, ताकि मुझे पता हो कि मैंने कोई एरर नहीं किया है, तो फिर we'll conclude at D. But let me just do it once again. A pound equals in 2002 it equals $1.45, and then a pound equals in 2004, let's say it equals $1.8. So dollar against the pound is clearly depreciating. ठीक है, हो गया. Now if I take out the pound against the euro is 1.65 euros, and then the pound against the euro is 1.45, right? So this should be $1 should equal 1.65 divided by 1.45, and this should be 1.13 euros, and then this should be 1 pound is like what? 1 pound is $1.8 equals to 1.45. So $1 should equal 1.45 divided by 1.8. So this should be how many euros? This should be 0. I think मैंने पहले भी हमने सही किया था, पहले भी was still depreciate हो रहा है, values थोड़ी आगे पीछे थी, but still I think we're right. Dollar against the pound is still depreciating, so D should be the answer. D, guys, it's D, because it's depreciating, right? So dollar exchange rate against the pound. Dollar exchange rate against the pound is depreciating. So D is the correct answer for this question. Both are depreciating basically. ठीक हो गया? Clear है? D is correct. सबका आ गया D? मुझे बस अपनी तसल्ली करनी थी. I mean, didn't want to just move on like that unless and until I am 100% sure of whatever I'm doing is right. But yeah, this is how you can do it. Clear? Question 22 का क्या? ये तो बड़ा simple सा है. Just simply import and export of terms of trade. So question number 22 is what? 22 says the terms of trade. So terms of trade आप निकाल लें. 57 divided by 48.1 times 100. So whatever the terms of trade is, and then 120.8 upon 122.4 times 100. You compare this value with this value, and the answer should be C for Charlie. The terms of trade has worsened. Got it? So 22C is the correct answer. ये आ रहा है 119 ले लेते हैं इसको, and 120.8 divided by 122.4 times 100 should be 99 something. आगे बढ़ते हैं. 23, I think 23 तो repeated है, right? Structural था इसका. 24 country Y reports the following macroeconomic data. So 24 का क्या आंसर है, guys? What is 24? 24 is what? 24 में you have GNP 1200 billion, you have net income from abroad 60. You have to calculate the net domestic product. Acha, net domestic product is sort of a new word that you might have heard, because it's not specifically in your books, but they have tested in one of the recent years as well. Maybe 23 or 24 they have used this word once, and the reason for giving you this MCQ was because I wanted to tell you the formula for net domestic product. See, net national product तो आपको पता है ना. What is net national product? Net national product is simply, or net national income, net national product, or net national income is simply GNP minus depreciation. But net national product is basically GDP minus depreciation. Got it? इसको लिख लें, the net domestic product is GDP minus depreciation. Your net domestic product is simply GDP minus depreciation. And what is GNP? GNP is GDP plus net factor income. So GDP should be 1200 minus your net factor income 60. That should come up to 1140. And so net national product should be GDP 1140 minus depreciation 90. So the answer should be 1050. Now I want you to learn this formula. If they ask you in the exam, they have asked only once that net domestic product is basically GDP minus depreciation is equals to net domestic product. Okay guys, are we good? सबको clear हो गया? Is it clear everybody? Guys, is question number 24 clear? ठीक है? So बस you just learn this formula, net domestic product. They've asked once in one of the recent papers, so I just wanted to give you a calculation MCQ on it. Question number 25. Yes, question number 25. What is the answer to question 25? Yes guys, question number 25. Question number 25 says, question number 25 is C. You guys are saying it's C? Okay. Yes, 25 is C. That is correct. ठीक है. 25 का answer is C. And the reason why is it C is because we know that for an economy, and this is by the way a closed economy, right? For the but still the economy to be in equilibrium, the withdrawals has to be equal to the leakages, or the injections have to be equal to the withdrawals. So for this particular economy, your savings plus your taxes, that is your withdrawals or leakages, should be equal to the injections I plus G. And leakages कितनी है? 320 plus 250 should equal to I plus the government spending. And how much the government spending is 280. So the value, you can calculate the value of I, and that should be 290 billion. Got it? Question number 26 बहुत easy है. A इसका answer है. If there's an ad valorem tax, then you guys know how the supply curve shifts. There's not a parallel shift. It's an ad valorem shift. So 28 is A for Apple. 27 ka correct answer would be what? Yes, guys, 27. What would be 27? $27 क्या होगा? 27, you guys are saying should be A. A is correct. 27 should be A for alpha. और इसका रीज़न ये है कि इंजेक्शंस क्या हैं सर्कुलर फ्लो में. 27 should be A for alpha. The simple reason is that trade surplus is when your exports are more than your imports. Exports being more than imports, so definitely exports. So this is a net injection. Import is a leakage, export is an injection. So exports being more than imports means that injections are more than withdrawals. So there's a net injection. There's a net inflow into the circular flow in the form of net injection. Government budget deficit hai, which means that government spending is greater than taxation. Government spending is again an injection. Taxation is a leakage, which means that you're spending more than what, so which means that injections are more than withdrawals. So there's a net injection as well. Private saving, private sector surplus. Saving is more than investment. See, private sector surplus is you have to understand that private sector surplus is a leakage, because if private sector surplus hai, it means that the private sector means the firms are actually saving rather than what they're investing. They're put, instead of investing the money, they're saving the money in deposits. Maybe because there's a recession, so there's a very weak business optimism and a pessimistic outlook in the economy. Just like John Maynard Keynes said that it's the animal spirits are very low during a recession, so they wouldn't probably invest. So saving us more than investment is a leakage. So ये तो definitely injection नहीं है circular flow. It's a leakage. ये leakage है, ये पता होना चाहिए. You guys should know this. It's a leakage. ठीक है? So 27 is A. Which combination indicates a free floating exchange rate? The correct answer for combination the correct answer should be 28 should be boy, because the currency is depreciating and it's a the currency would depreciate. Yes, that's free floating exchange rate. Plus foreign currency reserves would be unchanged, because in a free floating exchange rate, the central bank never sort of manipulates the currency, and hence it doesn't touches the foreign exchange reserves to manipulate the currency value. So foreign exchange reserves have nothing to do with the currency value to be either increased or decreased or maintained. So 28 is boy. 28 should be boy. 29 says the government decides to pursue a more deflationary fiscal and more reflationary monetary policy. Which combination of instruments is consistent? So the correct answer to question number 29 should be what? 29 में देखें government, तो इसमें deflationary fiscal policy में government spending को हम कम कर रहे हैं. We're going to be decreasing government spending. Probably we will be increasing taxes. And reflationary monetary policy we will be reducing the interest rates, right? So interest rates, so that is what, so what is the correct answer? The correct answer should be, for 29 should be A for alpha. Interest rates going down, government spending going down, taxation increasing. Question number 30 says, what is question number 30? Question number 30 का आंसर क्या लिखा है आपने? Guys, 30 last answer. 30, question 30, question 30, question 30. In a recent survey, Hunzala says D for David. Nahi Hunzala, the answer to question number 30 is not D for David. In a recent survey, many households reported the cost of living felt higher than what official CPI data showed. Consumers had shifted to cheaper brands, started using digital, and noted prices of essentials like rent and education risen, even though quality had not improved. So the quality of rent and education is just like a piece of crap, but then the quality is not improving, but prices are rising. Which of the following best describes why CPI might understate actual inflation in this case? Hunzala, 29 is A for alpha. 30, what is 30? What did you guys write for question number 30? What did you guys write for question number 30? And I really want to explain something to you over here. I just want you guys to understand the shift of mind that you guys should have when you are not able to understand an MCQ. Let's say that you are not aware of the limitations. Yes, Hunzala, C is correct for 30. Let's say that you're not aware of the limitations of CPI. and you're stuck in the exam. You're stuck on question 30 in the exam and you're not aware what to write. So the question is saying which of the following best explains why CPI might understate actual inflation. So this is actually asking about the limitation of inflation, of using CPI, because CPI could either understate or overstate inflation. This is a limitation. So instead of finding out what best explains why CPI is understating inflation, find out what does not best explains and then cancel it out. ये माइंडसेट का शिफ्ट बहुत हेल्प करेगा आपको. सो अगर हम देखते हैं CPI includes non-consumption goods and ignores import prices. देखिए CPI includes consumption goods. CPI does not include non-consumption goods. It doesn't include capital goods. It takes out the average expenditures on the basket of goods that is spent by an average household. So it takes consumption goods. CPI overstates inflation by adjusting too much for quality changes. CPI never takes into account the quality changes. So this is incorrect, this is incorrect. D says CPI measures income instead of expenditure. CPI measures expenditure. We take out weights based on the proportion of expenditure done by an average household on different expenditure categories. So D is incorrect as well, which leaves us C as a right answer. Even if we don't know in the exam that CPI does not fully capture substitution, new good, we don't even know what option C is saying. हमें समझ ही नहीं आ रहा option C exam में. कोई बात नहीं, mindset shift करो अपना. In the exam, mark the right answer. And देखें आपके exam में जो आपका पेपर होगा उसमें you have to understand that there would be 2 to 3 MCQs that would trick you. So instead of finding the right answer, find the wrong answer. Change your mind, change your thought process over there, right there and then, because a student who has studied properly will easily be able to score 25 marks in the exam. Scoring 25 for a student who has studied consistently for 2 weeks, done the topicals, done the yearlies is not a problem. These 5 MCQs are the problem. Here the silly mistakes will happen. These 5 MCQs are those MCQs where majority candidates will make the most silliest mistake by wrongly suggesting an answer option. So here you have to and you need to mitigate this loss. So obviously a best score would be somewhere around 28 out of 30. If you're able to get 28 out of 30, perfect. ठीक है, सो आपको कोशिश होनी चाहिए कि आप इसको वो करें. By the way, CPI does not fully capture substitution, and by the way, if you guys remember that this is exactly the sheet that I had taught to my students. I had uploaded this on our platform. We talked about substitution bias, right? We talked about quality changes and new goods bias, and all of this we talked about that CPI does not fully reflect the substitution effect, right? For example, if the price of a particular good rises, consumers may if a price of a particular good rises, consumers may substitute it with cheaper alternatives. But CPI would never factor this substitution effect into account. In fact, it will overstate inflation because it will not. It's because CPI क्या कर रहा है? CPI ये सोच रहा है कि अगर राइस एक्सपेंसिव हो रहे हैं तो लोग अभी भी राइस ही ले रहे होंगे, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है. People might have switched to a cheaper substitute. But CPI is saying no, rice is getting expensive. Usually people spend on rice, so then the average basket of good would include rice in it. While it doesn't. People have switched to a cheaper alternative. CPI is not taking that into account. And because it takes into account that people are still spending on rice, it may overstate inflation because rice is getting very expensive. So actual inflation might not be very much reflective of the true basket of goods because it doesn't take into account a substitution effect. So you should definitely go through this document again as well for those students who are my own students. For those who are not my students, probably they can get in touch with me. I'll just share it with you. That's it, guys. I think we're done. So if you guys see, you guys have done everything. And jahan tak isme call in, even if we if you guys look over here, I think I've mentioned about the quality issues as well. So CPI does not fully capture substitution. It doesn't captures new goods and the quality change issues. See, CPI की जो basket होती है ना, CPI basket is very very slow to include new products. CPI अब जैसे आजकल लोग people spend a lot on digital services rather than physical service. But digital services would never be included. Still it hasn't been included in the. So this is the new goods bias. People are still reflective of the fact that digital products are not being consumed. People might have switched to cheaper alternatives, but CPI is still tracking expensive products. So again, okay guys, so I think that's good to go, and I hope you guys did well in this paper. Now I think 3 mocks are enough, and tomorrow we will be discussing May June 24, Feb March 25. But if we are not able to discuss all the papers, because I think I have posted that we will be discussing 3 different nine papers, 9 papers I guess, 7 papers. But let's see how much of papers are we able to do. But so we're going to be doing the recent ones, the recent papers. That is, we'll start with Feb March 25 tomorrow. I have been having a lot of requests for Feb March 25. So Feb March 25 first, and October November 24, and then May June 24. ठीक है? Okay guys, so see you all. Best of luck. अच्छा, ईद के ऊपर guys ये नहीं कि आप 2-3 दिन ईद के ऊपर बस आप लगे हुए हैं, 2-3 दिन ईद पे बस थोड़ा हल्का रखिएगा, ऐसे भी नहीं, थोड़ा पढ़ लीजिएगा. ओके, एंड डेफिनेटली you guys will ace your exams. Yes, you will ace your exams. And apart from that guys, एक चीज़ और मैं आपको बताऊं कि मेरे Instagram के ऊपर ना एक वो है, डॉक्यूमेंट है, चीट शीट है एक, वो ज़रूर देख लें. Go on my Instagram and there's a link there. Go and check out that link and click on that link, and there's a cheat sheet over there, so just go and check that out. ठीक है? ओके, इजाज़त है. टेक केयर. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़. हुंजला सेज मंडी महंगी हो गई. हाँ महंगी हो गई है. यस, यू राइट. रुतबा, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़. थैंक यू एंड you're welcome.